So after all of these videos, I think it's a good idea to review what we talked about as the different options that you have in class for content access and practice. So for starters, there's always the textbook, and you can choose to read the textbook and annotate it, or even perhaps take Cornell notes based on the textbook. You could just read it, or read it and annotate, or read it and take Cornell notes, or do all of the above. But the basics is actually having the textbook read so that you can access the content. Now, that's just not going to work for everybody. Some people will need to annotate, will take notes, and sometimes even have to self quiz in order to really understand that material, and perhaps even do some extra connection activities with the Cornell notes in order to truly absorb that information. The other option is to use things like presentations, handouts, and a study guide that's attached to them. Now, using this option can be really good, especially if you're more of a visual person or just like to read summarized notes. And a study guide is a good practice option to go along with it because it basically follows the presentation line by line, and even if you don't actually fill in the study guide, it's kind of nice to have it open to be looking for the answers as you read through the presentation to help you stay focused on what you need to learn. By the way, you can also self quiz using the study guide when you use the presentations. After going through it, you should be able to answer the questions that are on that study guide. Another option is to watch video tutorials, lecture tutorials, and some of them come with outline notes or lecture guides that can help you take notes. And even if you don't have an actual set of notes that comes with the video, you can create your own as you watch them. And that kind of counts as practice too, especially if you end up using those notes for to self quiz later. Another option is to learn through inquiry-based worksheets such as POGOs or biozones. They're called conceptual practice worksheets, and they can count as practice too, but they're the kind of worksheet that you can learn by doing. So you don't actually need to read a textbook in theory or anything else in order to actually access the content. And on top of all of that, every single unit has additional resources under unit files when you look at the main resource document. So let's take a look at the main resource document and see where you would find some of these things. Well, the textbook you would find an HMH ad, and even though there is a link to the virtual textbook from here, it actually doesn't work unless you actually already have the textbook open in the first place. So you're usually going to open that through Clever instead of using the resource guide here. But under key resources is where you would find the presentations and in the handouts, along with the study guides for each lesson and exploration that is covered on the unit. Then after that, you can find the video collections. And again, you will find videos for every single unit. Sometimes you have videos by me, and sometimes you will have other teachers there as well. If you do choose to do videos, make sure to watch all the videos from that one teacher, because that way you can make sure that you cover all the content that is associated with that topic. I will note by the way, that sometimes there will be animations. And wherever you see those, even if you did anything else, it's always a good idea to watch the animations because they are really great ways to make biology pop for you. So even if I did the presentations or the textbook, if I did POGOs, I will scan through the video collection and see if there's animations for that topic because they usually will help you understand things really well. And often I will link them in class as a teacher because of how important it is to visualize biology when you're trying to learn it. Underneath the video collection, you will find the conceptual practice workbooks, POGOs, and biozones. When there is one associated with the unit, it will be listed over there as well. Finally, you have the unit file resources, which have even more goodies that can potentially help you learn, including presentations, notes, videos, tutorials, animations, and extra practice options, including worksheets, study guides, self-assessments, projects, activities, extra quizzes, and a lot more. So whatever you decide to do as a practice option, there is always lots of things that you can do to learn. And when I say do content access and pick something, this is what I mean. Now, because a lot of options can be overwhelming, you often will have in every topic the chef's choice, which is what you should do if it was up to me, right? And sometimes I will give you one or two things which I think is the key resources for that lesson. Now, as a reminder, there's a lot of things that you can do to practice after accessing the content if you have time. You can self quiz using notes, flashcards, or a study guide. You can do lesson self checks from the textbook portal. At the bottom of every lesson, there is a link that says that. And if you go under checkpoints, there is questions that are just like the questions you faced on the quiz. And you can actually take snapshots of those questions as you complete them and submit the pictures on the unit bonus assignment for extra points. And any other practice that you do can be submitted there as well. You can also do the unit opener, the lesson engage, and other golden workbook questions, or even the language arts connections from the textbook into your evidence workbook. And these can actually be worth mastery of skills, which is the 70% category in the gradebook. That is perhaps the best kind of practice you can do because it can actually serve as additional evidence of mastery. You can also take some extra time to engage in side quests, which can be worth content or skill mastery grades. So that's another great way to invest time on practice as well. And remember that under unit files, there are additional worksheets, quizzes, self-assessments, projects, activities, and tons of other things that can also be worth either content or skill mastery. Make sure to ask your teacher before working on it and where to submit it so that you can get the bonus if you want to. Now, remember that the main unit resource document that I just showed you earlier, there's one at the top of every unit, and it shows all the main relevant resources and links where you can find them. And for more practice options and ideas on what to do, visit the additional practice optional document, and I have a different video that talks about that so that you can understand that as well. So I hope you find this helpful. On the next video, I'm going to talk about how do you decide how much to invest and what to invest time on.